welcome to the deep dive. Okay, imagine this. You drift off to sleep. Maybe those English lessons from earlier are still buzzing around in your head. And somehow, while you're dreaming, your brain just keeps on learning.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe a little too amazing, like something from a movie.
That's exactly the the fascinating idea we're going to unpack today.
Right.
Our mission, really, in this deep dive is to explore what's actually going on inside your brain when you sleep. We want to see if this whole notion of learning English while you snooze, if there's any real truth to it.
Okay.
And if there is, well, we want to give you some simple, straightforward steps you could actually try out yourself.
And we've got some help with this. We've been looking at a really useful YouTube transcript from LF Learn English Fast. It's their one called Learn English While Sleeping.
Oh, right.
The beginner's episode.
A good starting point for this topic.
Okay, so let's dive right in. When we close our eyes, drift off. What is actually happening up there? It kind of feels like the brain just shuts down for the night.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, but it's actually quite different. While your body gets its rest, your brain, it stays incredibly active, goes through different stages all night.
Active how?
Well, think about deep sleep, for example. Your body's pretty much still, right? But your brain is working hard. It's busy moving new information, things you learned during the day, moving them from short-term memory into long-term storage.
So it's like filing things away.
Exactly. Like your brain's own nightly admin, making sure the important stuff gets saved properly, like saving a computer file you really need.
Huh. So maybe those new English words I was wrestling with earlier, they might actually get sort of filed away while I'm asleep.
That's the theory, yeah. That's part of what happens. And then you have the lighter stages of sleep.
Right.
In those phases, your brain is a bit more, let's say, open to sounds from the outside world. It can still register things, soft music, maybe someone talking quietly nearby.
Ah, okay. So it's not completely switched off from the environment.
Not completely. And what's really interesting here for our topic is that even in this lighter sleep, the brain seems capable of picking up on simple sounds, maybe even basic language patterns.
Right. And this is where it gets really intriguing, isn't it? The idea that if you have, say, English audio playing softly, while you're in that lighter sleep phase, your relaxed brain can still kind of catch those basic words and sounds.
Precisely. Now, it's obviously not the same as sitting down and actively studying when you're wide awake. Let's be clear about that.
Right. No intense concentration going on.
No, but the theory suggests that this kind of passive exposure, it might still help strengthen the memory traces for those simpler elements. It's almost like your brain is still gently tuned in, to the frequency of English, even when you're not consciously focused.
Okay, so our brains are definitely busy bees while we sleep, doing more than we probably realize. But the big question for anyone wanting to learn English is, can this actually help? You might be listening thinking, come on, this sounds like wishful thinking.
It's a totally fair question. And the LEF video touches on this too. The answer isn't a simple yes or no. It's got layers.
Okay.
We need to go back to that idea of memory consolidation. During sleep, your brain definitely works on processing and reinforcing what you've already encountered during the day, moving it into more permanent storage. Like we said, saving that document repeatedly. The more you save it, the safer it is.
Right. Okay. That part makes sense. Reinforcing what's already there.
Yeah.
But I can't just put on a super complex English lecture, maybe about physics or something, and expect to wake up understanding quantum theory in English, can I? That sounds way too easy.
Exactly. No, that's a really crucial distinction. You're not going to suddenly grasp complex grammar rules or, become fluent just by listening in your sleep.
Phew. Okay, good to know.
It's definitely not a magic shortcut, but the source material does suggest some specific areas where this technique might be, more effective.
Okay, all right. So tell us the good news. What can our sleeping brains realistically soak up?
Well, vocabulary seems to be a key area. Just hearing new words, simple phrases, repeated gently during sleep. It might help your brain start to recognize them, maybe store them a bit better.
Okay, vocab. What else?
Secondly, it could potentially contribute to improving your listening skills. Not understanding complex arguments, but just getting your brain more familiar with the basic sounds, the rhythm, the cadence of spoken English.
Like tuning your ear.
Kind of, yeah. Which might make it feel a little easier to understand when you are awake and listening actively.
The LEF video also mentioned something about patterns, didn't it?
Yeah.
Our brain being good at picking up patterns. What's that about?
Yeah, that's fascinating, actually. Our brains are naturally wired to detect and remember patterns. It's how we learn a lot of things without even realizing it. So if you listen to calm, repetitive English audio, your brain, even in sleep, might start to identify those recurring sounds or common words, maybe even really basic sentence structures.
Oh, like how you eventually learn the words to a song you hear on the radio all the time, even if you're not trying.
That's a great analogy, yeah. You're not actively studying the lyrics, are you? But the repetition just sinks in. Your brain picks up the pattern.
Okay, so it's more about building familiarity, recognition, rather than actively learning complex new rules while we're, out cold.
Precisely. And it's really vital to keep remembering active learning. That requires you being awake and focused, actually speaking, puzzling over grammar rules, having conversations.
Right.
Sleep learning, if it works for you, acts as a kind of support tool, a supplement. It helps reinforce things you've maybe already touched on and potentially makes new basic vocabulary and sounds feel a bit more familiar down the line. It's not a replacement for the hard work.
Got it. A helper, not the main event.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like potentially sleep learning could be a useful addition to an English learning plan. So how do we actually, do it? What are the practical steps if someone wants to try this?
Well, the LEF video lays it out pretty clearly. Step 1 is all about choosing your material carefully.
Okay. What kind of material?
You want simple English audio, stuff that matches your current level. So maybe basic vocabulary lists, really short, clear conversations, or perhaps relaxing podcasts where they speak slowly and deliberately.
Keep it simple.
Exactly. The key is making it easy for your brain to process, even when it's relaxed or partly asleep. So definitely avoid anything too difficult or spoken really fast.
Right.
They even suggested, which I thought was a neat idea, maybe recording yourself saying words or sentences you want to learn, slowly and clearly.
Oh, interesting. Using your own voice. That could be quite effective.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our simple audio. What's step 2?
Step 2 is setting up your environment. Pretty common sense, really. Make sure your bedroom is quiet, dark, comfortable. You want good sleep hygiene anyway, right?
Definitely.
Minimize distractions. And use headphones or maybe a speaker on a very low volume. You don't need to blast it. Your brain can apparently pick up sounds even when they're quite soft. They mentioned sleep headphones too, those soft headband ones. Could be comfy.
Yeah, those could work.
Hey.
Okay, environment set. Then what? Timing.
Exactly. Step 3. Timing is important. The suggestion is to start playing your audio just as you're settling down, getting ready to actually fall asleep.
Just before you drift off.
Yeah. And the LEF video suggested aiming for, say, 30 minutes to maybe an hour of playback initially. That time frame seems to line up with when your brain starts relaxing and entering those sleep stages where the memory processing happens.
Okay.
Though letting it play longer might also be fine, allowing for continued exposure.
Right. Makes sense. 30 minutes to an hour as you're falling asleep. What's next?
Step 4 is a big one. Consistency. Like pretty much anything in language learning, right? Regularity is key. Every day. Ideally, yes. If you want to see if there are any benefits, try listening every night. The more consistently you expose your brain, the more it might get accustomed to those English sounds and rhythms. But again, manage your expectations. Progress won't be overnight. It'll likely be slow, gradual.
Consistency. Got it. What's step 5?
Step 5 is about making it part of a relaxing routine. The LEF video suggested weaving it into whatever you already do to wind down.
Like reading, maybe?
Yeah, or maybe you listen to some calming English music first, or a gentle story in English. Then, as you feel yourself getting sleepy, you switch over to your chosen learning audio.
Nice idea.
And they also mentioned, very importantly, trying to avoid screens, phones, tablets right before bed. That blue light really messes with your sleep cycle.
Good general advice anyway. Okay, step 6 sounds intriguing. Positive affirmations in English.
Yeah, step 6, it's about using short, encouraging statements. Things like, I am learning English, or my English gets better every day. Simple stuff.
And the idea is?
The thinking is that hearing these positive messages while you're relaxed, maybe drifting off, could help build confidence, kind of subtly reinforces a positive mindset about your learning journey. Power of suggestion, maybe?
Interesting psychological angle there.
Okay,
and the final step, step 7.
Step 7 is simply tracking your progress. Just paying attention, maybe keeping a mental note or even jotting it down. Do you notice yourself recognizing words more easily when you're awake? Does listening comprehension feel slightly better?
Okay.
Seeing those small gains can really help keep you motivated. It shows that something might be happening, even if it's gradual.
Right, those little wins keep you going.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the routine down. Now, thinking about the content again, what specific types of English audio work best for this passive kind of learning?
Yeah, the LEF video gave some good examples. Vocabulary lists are a solid choice, especially if you're more at the beginner stage.
Like common words.
Exactly. Common words, maybe basic phrases or lists related to specific topics. You're learning food, family, travel, whatever. Hearing them repeated can really help with recognition.
Repetition seems crucial here. Makes sense. What else?
Simple conversations, short dialogues, friendly chats. The key is clear, slow pronunciation. This helps your brain get used to the sort of natural flow and rhythm of everyday English.
Getting accustomed to the sound.
Precisely. And we mentioned them just now, but worth repeating.
The affirmations.
Exactly. Positive English affirmations. They can help create that positive mental state, give you a little boost while you rest. And finally, consider relaxing English podcasts.
Oh yeah? Like what kind?
Well, some are specifically designed for relaxation or sleep. They might have guided meditations in English or tell calming stories, or even just have ambient sounds with some slow, clear English narration over the top. Ideal for this purpose.
Okay, so the theme is definitely keep it simple, clear, slow, and relaxing. Nothing too demanding for the sleeping brain.
That's pretty much it.
Now let's flip it around. To keep expectations firmly on the ground. What shouldn't we expect? What are the absolute no's for sleep learning?
Right, this is really important to manage expectations. First off, absolutely no overnight fluency. Sleep learning is not, repeat not, a magic wand for speaking perfect English tomorrow.
Oh, hit a myth busted. What else?
You're not going to learn complex grammar this way. Understanding, the difference between past simple and present perfect or when to use which conditional, that takes active study. Focused attention when you're awake.
So no magically absorbing intricate grammar rules while dreaming.
Afraid not. It just doesn't work like that. Thirdly, sleep learning absolutely cannot be your only method. It needs to be combined with active learning. You still have to do the work during the day, reading, speaking, writing, practicing.
It's a supplement, not a replacement.
Exactly. And finally, it's worth remembering, everyone's brain is different. How we process information during sleep might vary quite a bit, so it might work better for some people than others. Don't get discouraged if you try it for a week, and don't notice huge changes. Consistency might still yield subtle benefits over time.
That's a really good point about individual differences. Okay, so as we start to wrap this deep dive up, what are some final tips or maybe words of encouragement for listeners who are thinking, okay, maybe I'll give this a try?
I think the biggest thing is patience. Just be patient with yourself. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint, right?
For sure.
And sleep learning, if it helps, is just one small tool in your kit. So don't expect miracles overnight. Be consistent. Try to do it regularly. Even short sessions each night can add up. And crucially, remember to combine it with active practice when you're awake.
Don't skip the daytime study.
Definitely not. Don't neglect speaking, reading, writing, watching things in English. All those things work together. And try to believe in the small progress. Every little bit counts. Every new word you suddenly recognize or phrase you understand a bit better. That's a win. Celebrate those small steps.
Good advice.
And yeah, just stay motivated. Believe you can improve. It's a journey.
This has been really fascinating, actually, breaking down the hype and looking at what might genuinely be possible. So the bottom line seems to be, learning English while you sleep isn't pure fantasy, but it's maybe a small, potentially useful addition to your overall learning routine.
Well put. A supportive tool, perhaps.
Yeah. And those small, consistent efforts, even the ones you make while you're resting, they can all contribute to moving you forward.
Absolutely. Every little bit helps.
So sleep well, learn well, and we really look forward to our next deep dive with you.